You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Digging In, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors. I'm your host, Kench O'Kelly, helping you with all those questions to and through retirement. Today, I'm joined by a gentleman I'm just getting started to know. He's an investment advisor representative at Rooted Wealth Advisors. He's got almost a decade in the financial services arena. He's a former professional dart slinger, and when he's not grinding away at work, he's swinging away on a golf course. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Mateja.
Thanks, Kinch. Happy to be here.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Getting settled in. It's been a few weeks now. Just trying to get my feet on the ground here. We're actually looking at some houses this weekend with the family, so we're chumming along here.
For you, it's coming home, kind of, right?
It is coming home. So that's right. I grew up in Chicago. Actually, the western suburbs of Chicago, in Oswego, Illinois. That's where I started in the business about, 10 years ago or so. It's actually where I met Zach, the founder of Rooted. And an opportunity presented itself to come back home, join the team here at Rooted. And my wife Sarah and I just immediately jumped on it, and here we are.
Hard not to, right?
Oh, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer.
Joe, I have a question for you. Let's get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
So maybe one question is a bit underselling, because I think I've got like 5 or 6 questions for you. But you're a financial services representative,
mm-hmm.
right? Investment advisor representative, excuse me.
That's okay.
Did you grow up as a little kid wanting to be a financial advisor?
It's funny you ask. So the short answer is no. But there's an asterisk. So, in high school, I was introduced to the world of insurance, not necessarily financial services, but insurance. And my eyes were open to, just some of the consequences of being a successful insurance agent, being able to help folks and really be a difference maker at a high level, right? So I graduate, or even before I graduated high school, I kind of had this idea in my mind that I'm going to be an insurance agent. Like, that's what I want to do. Folks grow up and say, I want to be a police officer, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer. Not me. No, I want to sell insurance.
You were that kid.
I was that kid. So, it's been a long time coming for me. I got into the business in my late 20s, early 30s, selling insurance. I was a captive with a captive company in Oswego, and it was very early on in that career where I met Zach and was really introduced to the financial side of the business. And it appealed to me. I became very passionate about that piece of the puzzle. And over the years, my focus and my passion has really shifted from the insurance side to the financial services side.
And that's a really cool transition to see. You mentioned meeting Zach and that kind of having a big impact on your life. I know, talking to John, another advisor here, and Hilda, they kind of joke about going to the school of Zach Gray. Zach Gray, the founder and CEO of Rooted Wealth Advisors. He's, whether he knows it or not, he's been a big mentor to a lot of people here.
Yep.
Knowing him, I think, has changed a lot of people's lives.
Yep.
And he's created a family apart from his family in Rooted Wealth Advisors. And we're glad to have you as part of the team, man. Yeah,
I'm so fortunate to be a part of this team, and I've known Zach for a while, and a couple of the team members, but the bulk of the folks in the Rooted family are new to me, and I'm new to them, and I just the culture here and the energy and just the overall passion that you can taste here to help folks it's a breath of fresh air, right? It's great. I love it.
That's awesome. So this might be putting you on the spot a little bit here.
Shoot.
But as a financial advisor, I think it's pertinent to ask, what has been your personal biggest financial mistake? And then I'll counter with it with, what is your biggest your greatest financial decision?
I think the biggest mistake was not, I think there's something to be said with the old cliche, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. So early on in my working life, I didn't save. Right. I didn't save. So not starting soon enough is probably the number one mistake that I think most people make, and I fall into that category. Right. I didn't really know what a difference starting a year sooner, 10 years sooner, just starting can make. Right, long term. And the second part was
your
best.
Your best financial decision you've ever made, one you're very proud of.
For me, it's personal, and I know most people probably wouldn't think of this as one of the best decisions, or one of top 3, top 5. It's up there, but for me, number one was the decision to purchase life insurance. And I put it up at number one. Look, in my household, we pay our mortgage, we pay our life insurance, and then we pay everything else.
And why is that?
It's really, I don't know, as corny as it sounds, it's the truth. It's peace of mind, right? It's how I sleep at night. It's how I love my family, and we are, most folks do make a decision to buy a house. Let's use a house as the example, right? Based on 2 incomes, right? 2-income household. That's my wife and I. When we bought our first home, there was no way that either of us could afford that home on our own, right? So that's kind of where it started, right? Well, what happens, right? I don't want to do that to Sarah. So buying life insurance has afforded me, let's just say 20% more hours of sleep than I would have gotten without it, right? Because it's a worry.
Right. There's going to be a compliance disclosure about insurance doesn't guarantee you 20% more sleep. We're going to slap that right down here. But that's interesting. That's a very interesting point. I don't think a lot of people, when they're buying a house, think about, hey, this is how much the bank says that we can afford to buy a house. So they go start looking at that number, right? But they don't take that thought to the next level about what made you take that thought and extrapolate it out.
So that's a really good question. I mean, it started with the house. I have a 4-year-old daughter now, Avery, and I mean, life insurance has become even more important, right? I want her to be afforded more opportunities than I ever was. And, let's face it, right? It takes money, right? It just does. But I think, what really triggered it was, my wife and I, when we got married, we were in the process of starting to look at homes. And we actually talked about life insurance. We just did, right? And I know that's rare. Maybe it's because I was drawn to the industry. I kind of knew about it.
Right.
But we had a conversation, and we both kind of agreed, yeah, we should probably do something. And then we never did. And like most people, right? We had a conversation over dinner, maybe a glass of wine, and that was it. Then we put a down payment on a house that we were going to build. Talked about life insurance. Never did anything. We closed on our house in June of 2014. Talked about life insurance. Pretty at length. Never did anything.
Wow.
I got into the business in November of I got into the business prior to this, but I really dove in November of 2014. And a month prior, I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm telling you all of this to tell you that because we didn't do anything, I have life insurance and I pay a lot more for it. Life insurance is based on your age and your health. Well, I got a strike, right? So I guess to wrap this up, it's something that my wife and I discussed and never pulled the trigger on. And I think it comes down to we were never given the opportunity to say, no, we don't want it. If any agent would have called us, bumped into us on the street and just asked, hey, you want to buy some life insurance? They just asked that simple question. we would have said, actually, yeah, we do.
Because you talked about it already.
Right.
Like, you had already warmed up to the idea.
Right.
You just maybe didn't... There was just lack of follow-through.
That's
Like, life happens, right?
Yes.
Like, you talk about something one night, and then you wake up, and you got a laundry list of things to do, and you're knocking those things out, and before you know it, you've moved on. Your brain has moved on from the conversation.
Yeah.
And you just haven't either looked it up online or called an agent or anything like that. How much money do you think, or percentage-wise, do you think if you had made that decision 31 days prior, how much money do you think you could have saved over the course of, I don't know, your lifetime or up to now?
Yeah, I guess I would. Okay, so I'll preempt my answer with everybody's situation is different, right? What type of policy are you getting? All of those
This
factors.
is not financial advice to you.
Absolutely not.
Individual situations definitely vary.
Sit down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a ball.
Yeah, you know what? I probably pay 40% higher premiums.
Wow.
Yeah. And I do so happily.
Right.
I do so happily. And, I know you've got some more questions for me, but I think this is a great opportunity to share with you, Kinch. I don't know if I ever have shared this with you. We've had some dinner conversations, and, we've been getting to know each other. But I don't know if I've ever shared my mission with you.
Go for it.
My mission in life now, it kind of started in the business, but really I try to apply this mission to all aspects of my life. And it's very simple. I want to do my job so well that I have a profound impact in the lives of others, right? I want to impact people positively. And since we're on life insurance, right, my wife always accuses me of turning a conversation into life insurance. But
I can see why.
But since, I'm just passionate about it.
Right.
But since we're on it, my goal is to always give somebody an opportunity to tell me no. Right? Every single time.
Right. And based on your story, that makes sense, right? Because you don't know who's had a conversation, who's even warmed up to the idea.
Sure.
And so,
Sure.
based on your history, that's become your mission.
Yeah, absolutely.
To at least ask.
Yeah.
To at least put out the ask. And then you feel like you've done at least your due diligence. You're not, you're not beating everybody over the head with a life insurance hammer.
Absolutely not. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, you're just, because you feel like if somebody would have just asked,
That's it.
that it could have saved you an exponential amount of money over time.
Yeah, it could have saved me premium. And God forbid something happens to me, it would have saved my family's life financially. Right? Life insurance couldn't bring me back, but it can absolutely make sure that life goes on financially.
So I guess that kind of leads into my next question, Joe. If you could hop in the DeLorean,
Sure.
and go back to yourself at 18,
Uh-huh.
what advice would you give yourself at 18?
I hate to be redundant, but I got to go back to earlier, right? And it's the same answer. Start. Do something now that your future self will thank you for, right? Make a decision to do something today that your future self will thank you for. And I think the message, I often get asked, how much do I need to save, right? How much? And, younger folks, my sister's 10 years younger than me, and she's actually in this boat. She's kind of saving. She's doing stuff at work with a plan. She's thinking about starting an IRA. And my message is the same, especially to the younger folks. That 18-year-old out there, $20 a month, just start. Right.
Something.
Saving for retirement is about discipline more than it is about the math. I believe it's about discipline, just forming those habits. The earlier, the better.
Right. I've seen some of those charts you guys use in presentations about compound interest over time. Those things always blow my mind. And I always think there's no way that math can be right. I always think that because the way it just builds up. I know John uses a story about would you take $1 million up front, or would you take a penny doubled every day for a month, right? And like the math just doesn't compute in my head. And so I'm like, I would take $1 million for sure. Like that just sounds silly. So how long on day 2 you get 2 cents? Like on day 4 you get 4 cents. But then on day like 26 it's like 567,000. And you're like, wow. Like, That
And I still got 5 days to go.
Right. That compounding interest is something to behold, and I think that message of just start can even relate to people about to enter retirement or people that have kind of already retired. Like, you can still figure out a way, and I think you pride yourself on finding those creative solutions for people.
Exactly. And compound interest, by the way, side note, I believe it was Einstein that stated the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, is compounding. How that works.
I think I've heard that. I
think it's Einstein.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Benjamin Franklin, one of those guys.
A smarter guy than me.
And me.
So, do you have a story about somebody that you had to help just start later in life, but that was beneficial to them, and that maybe they didn't feel like they could, but that you were able to help them?
Yeah, I think I've got a few stories. I think when you asked me that question, a client immediately came to mind. I won't use his last name, right? But his name is John. And when I met him actually when I was a dart player. He was another dart player. And, we would see each other, and then I got into this business, and, it started with a phone call. He actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you sell insurance. Can you quote my auto insurance?" I said, "Sure. Yeah, great." So we sat down and, going through my process, right, and asking questions, I often say that difficult questions often lead to simple solutions. And he is absolutely an example of that. So, we talked about insurance, but then we started digging in a little bit to him getting ready for retirement. He was about, at the time, I don't know, Kinch, maybe 10, 12 years away. Okay. He was a police officer, so he had some, he had a pension, and, we knew that he was going to get Social Security and those types of things, but he didn't have anything else. And he had nothing else going on. Nothing else. No IRAs, nothing.
All right, that sounds like all the eggs in one basket to me.
All the eggs in one basket. Now, granted, it was a good sized basket. It was a great foundation.
Okay.
But as we talked further, I learned that he wanted to do some travel, and he had a grandchild on the way, and he wanted to be able to do the family Disney trips in retirement and do some stuff that he felt like he'd be able to, but he kind of thought it might be a little tight, and he didn't want to feel constricted or confined.
Right.
So, we talked about just starting something in some way, shape, or form. In his case, it happened to be a Roth IRA. Right, that he'd be able to kind of build up this bucket of money that he would have freedom and control over, and some tax benefits from, right, in retirement, that he could reach into and provide that Disney trip, reach into and do those things that the fun stuff.
That's awesome. What a cool story. So many stories that start with he had a pension, and with he got a letter 2 years into retirement that the pension benefits were cut 40%, 50%. Those sort of scare the living daylights out of me.
I feel as though that's a topic for maybe a future podcast.
Absolutely.
Maybe a little teaser there.
Absolutely.
But you're right. You're dead on.
Well, last question I got for you on today's show. What is the best part of your job? What is the thing that you wake up in the morning and you're like, I get to do this today? Not I have to, but like you feel super impassioned about. I think we touched on a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think it's different for everybody in our business, right? So why do you get up? And I like to say I wake up early and I drive to work fast, right? I can't wait to get here. Like Sunday nights, I'm chomping at the bit. Right? Ask my wife. Starting at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday nights, Sunday afternoons, I'm starting to get antsy, right? And she knows it. It's like, Joe, it's not Monday yet. It's not time for work. And that's just it. So this isn't work. We do get to do this, right? I don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. We get to. And again, I know this is kind of broad, but I think what I look forward to the most is the ability to fulfill my mission, Kinch. I get to help people.
Right.
I'm sorry. You mean, I guess to put it another way, I get paid to help people. That's it. And the more people I help, the better, right? The better life is for those folks, and it selfishly for me. It just works in tandem, and that's exciting to me. I love being able to go home and tell a story to my wife, like, hey, sat down with Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and we were able to help them, and gosh, they left the office happy and fulfilled and feeling confident, and that's, I don't know, it's very satisfying.
That's awesome. I don't know too many people who are just driven by an internal mission, and not driven by external things.
Right.
That's really cool. I hope we get a chance to explore that in a future episode. We'd like to thank today's presenting sponsor, Rooted Wealth Advisors, for today's show. If you have any questions about anything you've heard today, they'd love to visit with you. And if you'd like a copy of the book, Your Retirement Lifeblood, give us a call at 815-918-4727. Again, that's 815-918-4727. And let them know that you heard about them from Digging In. That'll do it for us today. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep digging in.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.